Good evening, everyone. Hello. I'll say a real quick housekeeping announcement. If there are any open seats next to you, please raise your hand. So we do have a few open seats scattered throughout the room. Those of you standing, you're welcome to come on down one of the aisles and find a seat. Thank you so much. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Boone County Judge Executive Debate. I am Donna Bach, the library's Public Service Director, and on behalf of the library, I'd like to thank you for joining us this evening, all of you who are here in this room with us tonight, as well as those joining us online. Boone County Library is hosting this debate as a nonpartisan civic education event that does not endorse, support, or oppose any candidate. We are committed to fair and impartial treatment of the candidates, to maintain fairness and respect the candidate's time. We ask that you reserve your applause for the very beginning and the very end of the program this evening. For those in the room with us tonight, please be aware of the exits at the back and the side of this room, and please keep the paths clear of any debris, items, and body parts. Library staff will be here throughout the event. If you are a library staff member, please wave your hand. There's several of us posted throughout the room this evening, and we are here tonight to help where needed and to ensure that the library's standards of behavior are maintained. I'd also like to thank our interpreters this evening, Sarah and Kristen, provided by Deaf Choice. Now, I'm pleased to introduce our moderator for this evening. Evan Millward is a media strategy consultant and current board president for the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, Ohio Valley, which recognizes visual storytelling excellence with the Emmys. He spent a decade as an award-winning anchor and reporter at WCPO 9, where he moderated debates for the Kentucky governor race in 2023. Evan also served as the host and moderator for Link NKY's Community Conversations Hot Topic events this past year. Now, Evan will be posing the questions during the debate tonight and will maintain the flow of the event. If a procedural question arises, note that the moderator's decision and discretion is final. Thank you once again, and welcome, Evan Millward.
Thank you again to Donna and the staff here at the Boone County Public Library and our interpreters. Thank you for being here in person. I think there are more than 300 of you, which is incredible, and we love to see that. Thank you to everyone watching at home, streaming it. Give yourselves a big round of applause and give the staff a big round of applause. Donna mentioned some housekeeping things, and I get to be the guy that makes everyone sad. So my first housekeeping thing is to bring up something that Donna mentioned. This is a debate and not a pep rally. So the library has asked that there be no applause, no interruption, no hooting and hollering or yelling. They will remove you if that happens. So that is your warning. I'm going to give you time to cheer as loud as you want for your candidates and for already public servants twice. Here in just a minute when we bring them on stage, and again when we wrap up in a little bit more than an hour. Other housekeeping thing is we are going to try to get to some audience questions during tonight's debate. There is a QR code that, of course, I'm blocking. It's on the screen. It's also posted because it's a little bit easier if you're closer around the room. That uses Pigeonhole. It's not going to collect your name, your email, any data from you. We've stripped that part of the program away, so you just anonymously can pose a question in there. If you see a question in there, you can upvote it. For those of you who like Reddit, it's kind of like Reddit. They will be screened, but only for inappropriate content, personal attacks, partisan attacks. We're just trying to maintain some relevance. I will see those. Can't guarantee that we will get to them. We're going to try to get to at least one or two of them tonight. So that is somewhat of the housekeeping standards. A reminder to silence your cell phones tonight as well. Again, we're trying to get through a whole lot tonight in about an hour, and so we want to make this as smooth as possible. I like to tell people just put the onus on me because they gave me this big NASCAR clock that beeps at people. Let me be the one to handle the timing and make the interruptions. So the rules are done. Those are the rules. We're here to learn something. We're here to get you ready for next month. Let's bring out our candidates. I'm going to get off stage. I'm so sorry to you in the front row that I'm going to block you again. Please welcome your candidates tonight. The current Judge Executive, Gary Moore, and District 2 Commissioner, Chet Hand.
All right.
And a reminder, this is your time to clap and hoot and holler, so give it up. Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for being here. Your campaigns agreed to a set of rules earlier before this started with the Boone County Public Library. I'm going to review them with you and with our audience here behind me and with our folks streaming. These questions were not shared with anyone prior to tonight. And just a few minutes ago, we did a coin flip. We did 2 of them, in fact. The first was to determine who starts opening statements. You will get 3 minutes for opening statements. We also did another coin flip to determine who will get the first crack at the first question. You'll be asked the same question. You'll both have a chance to answer it. You'll each get 2 minutes to answer that question. If it arises that there's a need for a rebuttal, the first answerer will get a 1-minute rebuttal if you are named directly by your opponent. You'll then get 3 minutes for closing statements. So we have about an hour and some change for this. The coin flip results, the first opening statement, Mr. Moore, you will take the first opening statement. That means, Mr. Hand, you'll take the first closing statement. The second coin flip result means, Mr. Hand, you will get the first crack at the first question. Gentlemen, are you ready?
Ready.
All right. The topics your campaigns were agreed to involve housing, infrastructure and development, local control, representation, regional collaboration. And again, you just heard me tell the audience we are going to try to get to a couple of their questions. So I'm going to break my own rule and have my phone out because that's how I can see the questions come in. Rules for thee, not for me. So, opening statements. We'll begin. Mr. Moore, you will have 3 minutes for your opening statement. Then Mr. Hand, you'll have 3 minutes for yours. Mr. Moore, are you ready for your opening statement? Wow. Is my time ready? Very good. You may begin.
Friends and neighbors, it's been an honor of my lifetime to serve as your Judge Executive. I love going to work each day for you, and I still get fired up about that each and every day. The reason I'm running again is we're not finished yet. There's more to do. We reduced property tax rates during my tenure by nearly 25%. 25%. Yet we've delivered strong, reliable services, all while doing that. We're the only county in northern Kentucky that doesn't have an insurance premium tax, and I've never levied a new tax of any kind. No city or county in Kentucky has a better credit rating than Boone County. We have the best. We have no debt. We get clean audits each and every year. That's what conservative, responsible government brings. Strong fiscal conservative. Public safety has always been a top priority of mine, and I'm proud to have the endorsement of Sheriff Les Hill and the Kentucky Professional Firefighters. We've increased the number of deputies. Former Sheriff Mike Helmig and I started School Resource Officer program, and today we have officers in our schools. We currently are building a brand new emergency management and 911 dispatch center across from the Sheriff's office there in Burlington. As I said, there's more to do. The county has grown, so we've invested more than $400 million in infrastructure projects, new interchanges on the interstates, new highways, multi-use paths, parks. We've also invested in water lines and fire protection for western Boone County. I was born and raised here in northern Kentucky on my grandfather and my father's farm, and farming and ag land is important to me. In the year 2000, 62% of Boone County was ag and rural. Today it's 58%. 62%, 58%, 25 years later. The growth management plan of the comp plan and our updated transportation plan are just now in their final stages. And again, planning is leading the way. I'm an America First and a Boone County First Republican. I support the Second Amendment. I'm pro-family, pro-life. I'm the only candidate on this stage endorsed by Kentucky Right to Life. I work hard each day to make Boone County the best it can be for our families and for our loved ones. And I'll continue to do that with your vote on May 19th. Thank you.
How's that for a countdown clock? I will remind the audience we are asking you to hold your applause to the very end of our forum tonight. Mr. Hand, are you ready for opening statements? You'll have 3 minutes. You may begin.
Perfect. Thank you all for coming out. I am running to be your next judge executive to bring fresh leadership and a vision for the future of Boone County. My wife Elizabeth and I have been married for 15 years, and we live with our 7 children on a small farm down in Walton. We love this community and our county. We're obviously heavily invested in the future and success of our county. I have a graduate degree in business management from Thomas More University here locally, and I have over 20 years of professional work experience, including 14 years in public safety, which includes public service, which includes 10 years in public safety as a fire officer, and at the end of this term, 4 years as an elected commissioner on this fiscal court. I currently work a very successful career in corporate risk and resilience, where I've spent years in executive leadership roles driving improvement and efficiency. As a former chairman of the Boone County Republican Party, I have spent the last 4 to 5 years working to ensure that we maintain a conservative Republican representation in our elected offices, with strong voices representing the people of our county locally and in Frankfort. I spent a lot of time listening to neighbors and constituents, and I recognize that we're at a critical time for our county. We've gained almost 100,000 people in the last 3 decades, with growth driving challenges in housing, traffic, and development. The reality is that we're a different county today than we were 30 years ago, or even 10 years ago. The things that attracted us to this area are rapidly disappearing, and it's easy to see a real risk to my family's future. The challenges and opportunities of the future will demand a new perspective, a fresh strategy and vision to ensure that we maintain a high quality of life for our residents. We need a new energy and curiosity in our executive leadership that ensures our county stays ahead of critical issues and reduces friction points between residents and government. For the last 3.5 years as your county commissioner, I've been a leading voice for common sense, and I've delivered on improved communication strategies from the county to residents, lower taxes, forced evaluation of critical development proposals, reduced regulation, etc. And these things are just the beginning of things that we can and must do. I approach my duty with a continuous improvement mindset and a commitment to service for our county residents. I am unbelievably excited to take this position and take my passion and energy to the executive office in Burlington, to spend every working day full-time for you and the community, to make our lives of our residents a better place. You can count on me to continue tackling critical issues for our region and our county head-on, putting residents first and ensuring that the future of our Boone County is good for our families.
Mr. Hand, thank you. Gentlemen, we'll move on to the question portion tonight. Again, you'll each get 2 minutes to answer the same question. There is a possibility of a rebuttal. Based on the coin flip earlier, Mr. Hand, you get the first crack at the first question. I'll let you take a minute to take some water. Again, previously agreed upon topics, we will start with the first one given to me, was housing. With 2 minutes on the clock, Mr. Hand, Boone County has seen significant population growth in recent years that doesn't seem to be slowing. What specific policies or partnerships would you pursue to increase the availability of housing, specifically affordable, workforce, or low-income housing, without displacing existing communities. So what policies or partnerships would you pursue to increase availability of housing? You have 2 minutes.
That's an interesting point to mention, to not displace existing residents, because I get calls almost every week from residents that have been here for a long time in Boone County that say they're being forced out for a variety of reasons, either through quality of life concerns or taxation or traffic, and they're being forced to leave our county. To me, that's unacceptable. While we do have to welcome new populations and new groups coming to our county, it cannot be at the expense of our existing residents that I call our early investors in our county. I would say one of the biggest things we can do is we can strengthen and enforce our comprehensive plan. We need better metrics. We need to define metrics. We have none currently in our comp plan. We do things and we say things within our goals and objectives of our comprehensive plan, like we want a healthy mix of residential housing stock. What does that mean? Nobody can define it. The fiscal court can't define it. The planning commission can't define it. There's no metrics or targets assigned to that. Our comprehensive plan must be reevaluated and must define quantifiable targets that we can work against, including housing as one. I would say that additionally, we need to cut the red tape when it comes to lowering costs for builders, allow accessory dwelling units, infill developments, updates to zoning regulations, especially when it comes to smaller houses on smaller lots. And I think we need to stop exacerbating the problem. So when it comes to what we attract to the area, whether it's industry or development or business, we need to stop bringing in jobs that are lower wage jobs to a relatively high cost of living environment. And then the other thing we can do to try to maintain keeping residents in the area is tax relief for our seniors, especially on property taxes. I'm thankful that there's at least some appetite, I believe, at the state level for that. And I have a good working partnership with our state legislatures to try to tackle that in the future.
Mr. Hand, thank you. Mr. Moore, it'll be the same question to you. What specific policies or procedures or partnerships would you pursue to increase the availability of housing, specifically affordable workforce or low-income housing, without displacing existing communities? Your time starts now.
Yeah, I'd like to start with what I've already done, what we've already done. This discussion's been going on for 2 or 3 years. So when I continue to hear over and over, there's a housing shortage, there's a problem, I wanted to know, well, is there and where is that? We wanted to do an inventory. So working with the other judge executives, working with some of the community leaders, and that's the strength of regionalism, by the way, finding and building partnerships to get things done. We did that. So together, we worked with the chamber, we worked with other organizations, and we did a housing analysis. RFP was done. We hired a company called Stantec, which is a national firm, and they have a special division for housing, and they did the inventory. They basically said, we're doing a great job of building 3 and 4 bedroom McMansions, but we need single bedroom, 1 and 2 bedroom type units. We need more smaller square footages. We need more owner occupied, but also availability of some rental units, some, not too many. The study sits today at the AD District, the Northern Kentucky Area Development District, where I'm current chair for the 8 Northern Kentucky counties, and you can read and find that data. So we wanted to make data-informed decisions. Today, the next steps are some discussions around the items that Commissioner Hand mentioned. It's auxiliary dwelling units. It's more evaluating lot sizes, reducing lot sizes because the land cost is a big challenge with this, and some of those other things. A key component, though, something that I think is important, is the catalytic fund, which operates mainly in the river cities, is going to be a partner on creating a housing fund.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. You do get the next question. This drills down a little bit on this. So there are several studies showing that many essential workers, we're talking about teachers, first responders, and healthcare workers, struggle to afford housing in the communities that they serve. What role should the judge executive play in addressing that gap, and what tools would be available at the county level to do so?
You must have gotten that question from the study because that was in there. That many times when you think of affordable housing, you think of HUD. You think of those that are, trying to get to their next paycheck. What the housing study discovered, that it's more about attainable housing, what's now being called income-based housing. And it often is entry-level healthcare workers. It's our teachers that are just starting. Sometimes it's our first responders, police and fire, that cannot afford the cost of a new home. Many times it's the down payment that is the challenge. So in the work that's being done, again, working with the Catalytic Fund, it allowed me to pick up where the timer cut me. The Catalytic Fund will be looking at a housing trust fund to be able to buy down some of those costs for those developments. Another point that I wanted to make is we have approved 2 projects here in Boone County that are income-based housing units. And Commissioner Hand and I both voted the same way on those projects. One of them is at Sherwood Lakes. The other one's going to be on Dixie Highway south of Mount Zion near the mobile home park areas. Those are going to be income-based multifamily units that will be able to help address the question that you've asked. They're called LabTech, by the way.
Same question to you, Mr. Hand. I'll repeat the question. There are several studies showing essential workers, teachers, first responders, healthcare workers struggle to afford housing in the communities they serve. So what role should the judge executive play in addressing that gap, and what tools are available at the county level to do so?
I think I'm going to go back to the comprehensive plan, like I said, in addition to some of the things that my opponent mentioned. But when we look at land use in our county, one of the reasons that drives high cost of living or high cost of housing is availability. It's supply and demand. And one of the ways that we resolve that is through increasing the supply of housing in the area. There's 2 ways that we can do that within our comp plan, within our zoning regulations. One would be to be more specific and targeted about where we put housing and how much housing we put in there. Part of that's also reducing regulation around our zoning regs that allows let's just say more tools in the toolbox for developers to put in smaller homes on smaller lot sizes, et cetera. And I'm not saying mix it in with areas that are already developed with other types of housing, but putting them in new areas where we can bring the infrastructure in advance to support it. I find that the problem that we have a lot of times with our comprehensive plan is we say a lot of lofty things that we want to see, and we do these broad brush strokes within our plan saying this is what we think the future should look like. But then we don't follow the plan. So it doesn't do us any good to have a good plan that theoretically addresses housing if we don't follow it. It's critical that the Planning Commission, the appointees that sit on that board, and the fiscal courts and legislative bodies make sure that they catch when we are not following the plan. So when we look at long-term strategy, not reactionary to the past, but long-term, what are we going to do in the future? Our plan needs to be very specific, metric-driven, and define exactly what it is that we want to see.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. We will move on to infrastructure and development, tied a little bit to housing here. Mr. Hand, you will get the first crack at the first question. And again, something we mentioned just a bit ago. Boone County is one of the fastest growing counties in Kentucky. By some metrics from the Cincinnati Chamber, it is the fastest growing in our region, or among them. How do you ensure that the roads, the utilities, and the public services keep pace with development without overburdening taxpayers?
Again, and you're going to hear me harp on this probably quite a bit tonight. It comes down to strategic vision and strategic planning. And I know, that there's going to probably be reference that we do have a plan and we follow the plan, but we absolutely do not. If we say we want to see development of a certain type in an area, the reason we do that in our strategy is because it's how we allocate the public fund and how we allocate resources towards our infrastructure, right? If we say we want to see certain type of growth in this area because it makes sense, or it's industrial, whether it's commercial, whether it's housing, we do that so that we can allocate the public dollar correctly towards infrastructure and growth in that area. But when you look at things, and I brought this up before, if you look at things like down on Frogtown Connector, where We said that there should have been commercial development on Frogtown Connector because that's what infrastructure was in place to support. And the commercial development in our comp plan was very specifically to support the residential growth on the west side of the highway. But somehow we ended up with 3 or 4 hotels built down there, even though the comp plan said specifically, thou shalt not put hotels on that corridor. How do we tell the public that we're looking out for their interests of the future? And how do we adequately plan on what we want to see and how we want to see it and make sure that the proper infrastructure is in place for development when we approve exceptions? And I wasn't on the fiscal court when those hotels were approved, or I'd have called it out. But it's up to us to make sure that when we say, hey, we want to bring in infrastructure, it doesn't happen overnight, that we have a plan and a strategy in place to make sure that we're addressing that in the future. We have to do that so that we're proactive and not reactive to our infrastructure growth.
Mr. Aaron, thank you. Mr. Moore, I'll repeat the question for you. Boone County is one of the fastest growing in Kentucky. It is one of, if not the fastest growing in the greater Cincinnati region, according to the Chamber. So how do you ensure that roads, utilities, and public services keep pace with development without overburdening taxpayers?
Well, we always hear the question, why aren't the roads built first? Why don't you build that road before you change the zoning? In a real world, in an ideal world, in a utopia, that's what you would do. Unfortunately, the funding comes from the state. These major road projects that we've talked about, rebuilds, whether we're talking about the overpass here at Camp Ernst 18, or the new Arrow Parkway, or you name it, Graves Road. Those are funded through state and federal dollars primarily. Now, we've been successful where we have kickstarted a project by kicking in $1 million to help begin the design phase to get the project going. But that's how we've done it in Boone County. And really the results of let me back up a second. Most of the transportation and the congestion issues are caused by the daytime population. Boone County's population doubles in the daytime. We have 18,000 people working at CVG, plus all the people that frequent CVG. We have the Florence Mall, Houston Road, we're the retail center. So population doubles in the daytime. Those folks come in. It's actually a good thing when we talk about lowering property taxes, because it's the occupational tax that those workers pay when they come to Boone County that allows us to roll back your property taxes about every year. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, but that's what's paying the bills. That population growth and the jobs that have happened in and around the airport, look at the projects that have followed. Arrow Parkway, the recent rebuild of Mineola and Donaldson, Houston Road, Wendell Ford Boulevard now going through the airport and coming to Arrow, Bushelman Boulevard going down to Houston. Those were paid with the economic development dollars that were generated from those projects.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. The next question will drill down a little bit on what we just discussed, gentlemen. Mr. Moore, you will start this. What criteria should guide the decisions about which infrastructure projects get prioritized, and how transparent would you be in that process? You have 2 minutes.
Well, the prioritization through the years has been very clear, and I mentioned the transportation plan that we just completed. We do these about every 10 years. We've done them. That was our third one during my tenure. And we update the transportation plan with a lot of civic engagement, people coming together to talk about what the priorities should be. We then try to pair those priorities and the transportation study with what's achievable. Where can we get the funding? What's the timeline to get it done? When I came to office, it was estimated that a new road project and a widening or an improvement would take 12 to 15 years. We have been turning around these improvements usually in about a 5 to 7 year period. Still seems like a long time, doesn't it? But that is quick compared to the rest of the world and the rest of the country. I was recently admitted to the University of Kentucky Engineering School, the Transportation Hall of Fame, because of how we have been able to continue to build these projects. Mount Zion, the new rebuilds at Richwood and Mount Zion interchanges, the federal dollars we brought, the The grant that we got for the Richwood, Mount Zion, and the turn lanes was $150 million in federal funds. We know how to do it. We know how to set the priorities. We know how to get the funding, and we know how to deliver the project to completion. That's what you get with me. With me, you're going to be able to identify a project and figure out how to build it, how to get it done, and drive on it in a shorter amount of time. It's been, Camp Ernst is up next, by the way. We hired the design team. They're on board. We'll start with public input, designing from the Pleasant Valley Roundabout to Cooper Campus, and from there to Hathaway.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Mr. Hand, same question to you. What criteria should guide the decisions about which infrastructure projects do get prioritized, and how transparent would you be in that process?
Well, transparency has been a hallmark of my time in office. It's one of the reasons why when I first got into office, I pushed in the first budget year to hire full-time communications staff for the county, make sure that we change the entire way we think about communication and relaying information to the public. But the number one complaint that I get from residents is traffic. It's the number one complaint. And it's pretty obvious to just drive around and see where we have problems. I'm more interested in proactively addressing these types of things. I'm familiar with the funding mechanisms, but I think our prioritization should be on the Boone County resident of today and not necessarily what we think some other residents that might be coming in the future. Obviously, we have to have a forward-thinking vision, but at the same time, when our current residents are suffering, we have a problem. And I'm more interested in addressing these issues right off the bat as soon as I get into office. I'm not really interested in holding projects or doing things only during election seasons when it's convenient. I think it's really, really important that the public trusts local government to get these projects done, to address their concerns that they have today. As far as communication and transparency, I think we are doing a better job today. Thanks to the communication programs that we were able to get in place in terms of communicating to the public, but we have a long way to go. And I think a lot of times what the frustration that we hear about from the public, the friction points that they deal with on their everyday life, generally comes from not knowing what's going on. And we have a long way to go to make sure that we inform the public of what we're doing as a county government.
Mr. Hand, thank you. Gentlemen, we will move on to a discussion about, if I can stop the timer, there we go, about local control. Mr. Hand, you'll get the first crack, the first question here. How would you describe the relationship between the county and the state, and what would you do to assert or protect Boone County's local decision-making authority?
I'm definitely a constitutional conservative, and I am all for keeping the government as close to the people as possible. Now, that being said, there are multiple layers of government. Obviously, you got federal, you got state, and you got county, and even city. And it's really important that we all work together on various projects. But at the same time, I don't think it's the state's, it should not be the state to solve local problems. And luckily, I have a very good working relationship with our state legislative delegation. All of the current state reps and senators are ones that I helped get elected in 2022 and 2024. But if a state issue comes up, if I hear about bills that are going on that impinge on local policies, they know that I am not afraid to call them, text them, or email them, and even put the whole group on blast saying, this is not your responsibility, this is our responsibility at a local level.
Same question to you, Mr. Moore. How would you describe the relationship between the county and the state, and what would you do to assert or protect Boone County's local decision-making authority?
By the way, have you noticed that we've not been doing rebuttal because there hasn't been a need? We haven't really disagreed on anything so far, and therefore we haven't called for a rebuttal. And this is how we operate at fiscal court. You know, we come together and we vote together 99.9% of the time. So this is how it works. Local control is essential. It's essential to being able to move this community forward. Government closest to you, closest to the people, is always best. Some bureaucrat trying to make decisions sitting in Frankfurt or sitting in Washington, D.C. is not how it should work. Throughout my career, I've advocated for that. I've been state president of the Kentucky Association and the County Judges Association, and I was national president of all the counties in America back in 2021. Having a seat at the table when you're in Frankfort or in Washington is very important. There's an old saying, if you're not at the table, you may be on the menu. I want to make sure we're not on the menu, and we need to be there, and I've always been there fighting for you and local control. And here's an example. Right now there's a bill. I'm not sure the status, so some of the legislators in the room will have to help, but Commissioner Hand and I recall well, citizens from Oak Brook, you all came to us and you said there's a problem with Airbnbs. They're putting too many on our street, corporations are buying up the houses, and we're gonna have Airbnbs all over. The fiscal court unanimously passed a local ordinance putting 1,000-foot requirement between each one and other restrictions in place to protect you and your community. And there's a bill right now in Frankfort that I believe is still alive. I'm not sure where it is but it could strike down that. It could eliminate local control.
Sticking with local control, I'd like to drill down because this has come up again. Some residents feel that decisions that significantly impact their neighborhoods, large commercial developments as an example, happen without meaningful input. It's something you both have touched on here. Specifically, how would you change or strengthen public participation in local governance?
Well, the Planning Commission is usually where local development decisions are made. Under KRS 100, Kentucky law, the Joint Planning Commission between the 3 cities and us at the county exists, and we appoint 6 of those 15 members that make up the Planning Commission. When they deal with an issue, when they're finished, it goes to the governing body. I get calls all the time, people not happy with a project in Promenade in Union or traffic on 42 through there. Maybe it's a Walton issue. Maybe it's a City of Florence issue. The Planning Commission, while it's called Boone County Planning Commission, is really the Planning Commission for the cities and county. The commissioners and I only vote on what's in unincorporated Boone, nothing in Union, Florence, or Walton. So it's imperative that when a project goes through the Planning Commission process that you attend their meeting. KRS 100 says that the governing body has to make its decision on the record that was created there. We can't take new evidence unless we have a new public hearing. And then that becomes cumbersome because we only have 90 days to make a decision. So you have to be engaged at the Planning Commission level. We all have been pushing for the Planning Commission to be more flexible in its process and to be more accommodating to public comment. That is important that happen, and I think we agree on that one as well. So be involved, follow the Planning Commission. Just recently, by the way, we got them to agree to enlarge the signs, like when they post, if a property next to you is going to be at the Planning Commission, those signs you couldn't even read them. We want them bigger and more readable. Things like that we're working together on.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Mr. Hand, the same question to you specifically. How would you change or strengthen public participation in local governance?
I'm going to probably address this when it comes to the Planning Commission as well and bring that up as an example. A lot of people over the last 3.5 years have heard me talk extensively about the Planning Commission. And I think that it is a good example of a local bureaucratic layer that needs significant improvement. There is not one thing, maybe other than traffic, in this entire county that people are more frustrated with than the output of the Planning Commission. They are not elected. Those people, no person on the Planning Commission is elected. They're all appointed by the various boards or various legislative bodies. Florence is overrepresented. Union is underrepresented. The representation on the Planning Commission is disconnected. They do the absolute bare minimum under the state law to communicate to the public. And it is my opinion that we should be leveraging our position with them more in order to force them to do more for the public when it comes to communication. But even if they don't, we have the opportunity as a county government to do it. This is one of the things that I've pushed for with our updated communications program. Look, the technology exists to tell people about things going on around them. We don't need to worry about the little sign. That's the bare minimum requirement of the state law. There's a ton of technology out there available to us to let them know. When we have projects come to us at the fiscal court, I pushed, and luckily the other commissioners supported me, but I pushed heavily to make sure that our process includes an option every single ordinance to open up another public hearing so that we can add to the record and we, their elected officials, can hear from them on what they want to say regarding a project. That didn't used to be the case, but it is now that I'm here.
If I could use my rebuttal for 1 second. It's really not a rebuttal. Once again, we primarily agree.
Mr. Moore,
Yeah.
then I'm going to deny your rebuttal.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll work it into my next answer.
Mr.
Okay.
Hand, you'll get the next question. You both have now talked about being in agreement as a commission, voting together many times. People could say it is easy to lead when everyone agrees. Can you give an example of how you have navigated a disagreement and what that would look like if it happens? My time went away. What that looked like if it would happen in the future in this role. Mr. Hand, you'll go first.
Oh, it's already happened. So my opponent likes to make the point frequently about how we vote 96% of the time or 99% of the time together, but it's a really misleading statistic. When you look at the things that we address at the fiscal court in a regular meeting, the vast majority of those things are what we would consider to be routine administrative procedures. We're approving prepaid invoices. We're hiring temporary workers for the golf course. It's not something that we're not going to have a beef with each other over that. So if you take those routine administrative things out of the picture, the number of things that we disagree on actually becomes a lot higher. And it's those things that are the most important. I don't think we would have effective governance if we disagreed on everything. So I anticipate us agreeing on some things. But the things that we disagree on are really, really important. And the difference is that I will be, and have been already on the record, the standalone vote based on what I think is right. However, in that block of things that we tend to vote the same on, whenever the rest of the fiscal court commissioners are in lockstep against something, my opponent will usually just flip his vote. A good example of that is the EV charging station. It's not the proper role of government for the local Boone County government to own and operate Biden-era funded EV charging stations. We can sell electricity to the public. It's not our place. And I fought that hard for weeks and weeks and weeks. And eventually my opponent folded on that and voted with us. There's other things that have come up, such as the comp plan, being the only one to stand up there and argue, for the most part, for reforms within our comp plan. There have been things I've pushed for term limits on appointments, not because of the individuals that are in there. I think they're great people, but I think on principle, the average resident would agree that if you have unelected bureaucratic appointments on all these various boards and commissions, that they should be term limited.
Mr. Hand, thank you. Mr. Moore, I will ask you the same question. Again, my timer there. The same question is if you can give an example of how you have navigated disagreements and how you will do so in the future.
Yeah, thank you. By the way, the thing I was going to add to the other point is the new county website will be live probably within a few weeks. And again, part of better communications to increase your involvement with Planning Commission and with us. Now to the question. There's been 1,486 votes since Commissioner Hand became commissioner. 1,486. We have voted together all of those times except for 7. 1,486 and 7. We have not voted the same way on creating a transportation improvement district. That passed 3-1. Commissioner Hand was the dissenting vote. Creating Northern Kentucky Works, the regional workforce development team that's working in Boone, Kenton, and Campbell to deal with unemployment and job creation. 3-1. 2 times it was on appointing people to boards. Once it was Bob Swinkie to the Planning Commission. Bob is the largest farmer, over 2,000 acres in Boone County. He's been the watchdog to help us get to the number that I gave you earlier, 3-1. Mike Jones to the health department, Dr. Jones. Many of you use him and know Mike Jones. Fine gentleman. We voted different. Well, really, those are the primary things we voted differently on. But the numbers are in the record. I mean, the minutes are public record. So there's really no way to dispute that. I said during the forum at the Boone County Republican Party, felt like I was meeting Commissioner Hand for the first time, because Commissioner Hand shows up at fiscal court meetings and we vote the same way, we agree on everything, but candidate Hand wants you to believe that we're very different. It's just not the case.
Mr. Moore, thank you. Mr. Hand, I will allow 1 minute rebuttal.
So I don't think that you guys expect that your representative goes to DC and just votes exactly the way everybody else in DC votes. That's not what you want. I don't think you want your representative to go to the state capitol in Frankfurt and vote with everybody else lockstep. You want them to vote the way you want them to vote. And the same applies to me when I show up at that fiscal court. And the difference is I'm not worried about the next election, and I never have been. I'm there to do the right thing right now for my constituents and the ones that call me and email me and text me every day and every week. I'm still the only county official, I believe, that has my cell phone on the county website. I get dozens of calls from constituents every single day, and it's one of the things that they appreciate about me. When it comes to things like Mr. Jones, yeah, you could say, well, hey, he was a nice guy, and I believe it. He was a nice guy. But being on the board of St. Elizabeth's and being on the board of the Northern Kentucky Health District causes a conflict of interest in my mind. And I was the only one that called that out, and that's why I voted against it.
Mr. Hand, thank you. Next section, gentlemen, how's this bouncing around just a little bit? We're going to move on to representation. Mr. Moore, you'll get the first crack at this question. Boone County is becoming more demographically diverse by almost any demographic you look at. How do you ensure the county government reflects and is responsive to all residents, including those who are newer to the community or have been historically underrepresented?
One of the best ways you can become engaged and involved in Boone County is enroll in Engage. That is a program that we started where citizens can attend a several-week program to learn about your local government. Through that, we find many of our board members. The judge executive appoints people to 40 different boards. That equates to about 186 people. Some boards have 1, some boards have 5 or 6. Those board appointments is a great way to find talent in the community. I use the website regularly. I use the Engage class regularly. Last week, we appointed a gentleman to the MHID and Aging, Mental Health, Intellectual Disability, and Aging Tax Board, who was not involved in government prior to Engage, and now he's a sitting board member on that group. We want you involved. We need you involved. We talked about everything from Planning Commission to, there's 8 different fire districts in Boone County. We appoint 3 to each one. And by the way, when I say the judge executive appoints, the judge executive nominates, and then the 3 commissioners, they vote them up or down. And that's how the process works. So if you're here tonight and you want to be more engaged, I encourage you, go to our website. Right on the front page, it says boards and commissions. Boards and commissions. And you click there and it gives you a list, and there's a form you fill out. It's just a 1-page bio. That puts you into the database so that when we have an opening, we can go there. When I became judge, we were underrepresented with females on those boards. I had a group that was a watchdog that would meet with me monthly. After about a year, they stopped coming because they knew we were committed to equalization.
Mr. Moore, thank you so much. Mr. Hand, same question to you. How do you ensure that county government reflects and is responsive to all residents, including those who are newer to the community or who have been historically underrepresented?
I think the biggest thing is making sure that we provide an opportunity for residents to say what they want to say. We need to listen to the residents. And again, it's one of the reasons why I push for increased communication through our county, different ways of communicating to the public. But the other thing is about being receptive to things that people want to say to us as elected officials. I think I don't do a very good job as an elected official unless I am responsive, accessible, and honest with the people that elected me. It's one of the reasons I put my cell phone on the county website. It's also one of the reasons why I do these, we call them Chats with Chet events all around the county, once or twice a week. Anybody can show up. It doesn't matter where you live in the county. It doesn't matter what your party affiliation is. Anybody that wants to show up to one of these events can show up and they can ask me questions. And that's the whole point of the event, is to answer questions, not me up there pontificating. And that's me because I'm their elected official. I also think, and that's something I plan on continuing, by the way, after I get in as judge, my intention is to make sure that we have far more of these localized events around the county, town hall style events where people can say what they want to say, ask questions, etc. And then I also meet with folks. I meet with constituents every morning, almost during the week, and almost every evening. You know, we'll meet in the morning for coffee, in the evening for bourbon, or vice versa, depending on what you want to do. And we just talk. What are your concerns? And most of the time, it's about listening. It's not necessarily that we agree on everything, because I don't even agree with my wife 100% of the time, let alone every person in the crowd. You know, we're going to agree on 80%. We're going to agree on 70%. Heck, we might only agree on 5% of things. And there's a lady in this county that I for sure 100% only agree with 5% of things with her, but on that 5%, which is the Planning Commission, we work together on that. And that's my approach to governance, that's my approach to representation, and I think that the county government of the future will reflect that.
Mr. Hand, next question for you drills down a little bit on the idea of representation, particularly that rural parts of the county sometimes feel overlooked compared to areas like Florence or Burlington. So specifically, what would you do to make sure that those communities have a seat at the table?
So there's a few things there. One is that obviously our policies at a county level need to make sure that they consider all of the parts of the county and not just the urban areas. But it's also about aggressively identifying, have the curiosity to identify where we have issues in that space. And I'm going to go back to the Planning Commission being one of the most perfect examples of that. The city of Florence should have 4 representatives on that planning commission, not 6. By population or by workload, they should have 4 people on that planning commission, but they have 6. And they obviously represent the urban core. That means the urban core is overrepresented on one of the most important boards and commissions in our county that impacts land development, which is the rural community. The best thing we could do would be to aggressively address the memorandum of understanding that allows that entity to function, to use our weight and leverage as a county, along with the other cities, to ensure that proper representation is on that board. And that's a systemic issue, right? So first off, we have to do it by policy and intent. Second, we have to do it within these systems that exist within our county. But these systems have existed like this for decades. And if it's a known problem, why has it not been fixed before? It's a legitimate question.
Mr. Hand, thank you. Mr. Moore, you'll get a crack at this once I get your 2 minutes on the time. I will repeat the question for you here as well. How do you specifically make sure that the rural parts of the county have a seat at the table?
Well, first of all, through the board appointment process, I mentioned Mr. Schwenke being Western Boone County. I think when we look at the appointments to the Planning Commission, we should make sure we regionalize those. This board that manages the library board is appointed by us. There's nothing in the rules that say they can't all live on the same street, but I've had a standard that I want the 5 members that we appoint from different corners of the county. So through our policies and through my practices, we've reached out and included every corner of the county and as many boards as we can. I also want to point out our fiscal court meetings, the Boone County fiscal court meetings, are basically town hall meetings. Every meeting we allow public comment. I think we're the only city or county that will allow you to get up and speak on a business item right in the middle of our discussion. Many times citizens involved in that discussion just like the commissioners do. I've actually had some criticism that we're too open with it, but it works and we want you to have a voice. There's a lot of those meetings where if you go, you have to sign up when you walk in the door that you want to speak that night. They make you speak at the beginning of the meeting before the elected officials get into the meat of the meeting. and you don't get to comment during that part. So I really am proud of the fact of how our meetings are open and engaging, and you have a voice during those meetings, and our whole county knows it. Western Boone County's really been the target here lately of our aggressive investments. The county fiscal court, again unanimously, we are spending close to $20 million on water lines in Western Boone County. Thank you.
You do get to start the next question, but we're going to move to another topic, which is regional collaboration. You'll get the first crack at this one. The first question here is, Northern Kentucky functions, as we all know, as an interconnected region and series of governments, and it can feel fragmented. What does effective regional collaboration look like to you? And, it's a two-part question, where has it fallen short?
Regional collaboration, I think, is essential to getting things done. What I have found through the years, there were studies done before I came along about regionalizing, merging the 3 counties, or 2 counties merging, or cities and counties merging. And the people were loud and clear. They do not want to give up their city. They do not want to give up their county. They want to continue to elect their local representatives. And I fully feel the same way, and I fully support that. But they are in favor of more efficiency. If you can deliver water, if you can manage sewers, if you can run a regional transit system like TANK, Transit Authority Northern Kentucky, 3 counties, if you can do economic development, tourism, Convention and Visitors Bureau, can you imagine each of the 3 counties trying to do their own thing? Or the 3 counties having their own economic development and fighting each other? What has happened in Northern Kentucky during my tenure has just been amazing at how we move together. When I was at NACO, there was a group called the Large Urban County Caucus. To be part of the Large Urban County Caucus, your county had to be 500,000 population or bigger. That was where you started. Boone County and Campbell together is 400,000, maybe 420. We wouldn't be a large urban county if we were 1. So we have to work smart. We have to work efficiently and find ways to address the service delivery components. And I could go on, regional drug strike force, regional hazmat, I mean, the list goes on, water rescue. We are all better because of partnerships and collaboration.
Mr. Moore, thank you. Mr. Hand, same question to you. What does effective regional collaboration look like to you? Second part of this question is, where has it fallen short?
So I think it was President Ronald Reagan that reminded us that governments closest to the people govern best. And in my opinion, just like any other aspect of life, think about it from the private sector as a business owner or as a business operator. Partnerships are good, and they're often necessary. And we are stronger as a Northern Kentucky community when we work together. Look at the borders of our counties. In Kenton County, half the time you don't even know if you're in Boone or Kenton County. Walton straddles both. Sometimes you don't know which part of the region that you're in, whether it's a county or a city. Look at Kenton County's got 23 cities or 19 cities or something. But my approach is that even though we have regionalism and regional entities, which are important, that we put Boone County first in all of these partnerships. And an example is we have a partnership with the City of Florence, but as already mentioned, they are disproportionately represented. That doesn't help unincorporated Boone County. That hurts unincorporated Boone County. So partnerships and regionalism need to be effective. I'm all for strengthening partnerships, and there's always room for improvement. I can tell you one area where I think we do good is an example, Meet NKY. I think Meet NKY does a great job in bringing in, attracting tourism to our region. But an area where we don't do very well would be, again, back to our comprehensive plans. But for those that don't know, we have said at Boone County we want our southern and western portion of Boone County to remain more rural. That's the objective within our comp plan. But Kenton County has a comprehensive plan that says the exact opposite, and they want to see industrial development right on the border of our county, right up against the highway down in southern Kenton County. Those things are mutually exclusive. They cannot coexist together. And if they do that in Kenton County, it will impact and it will drive development growth and population growth in southern Boone County, not working together.
Thank you. Mr. Hand, you get the next question here. The county contributes significantly to this region. Economic, infrastructure, all of these conversations. How do you make sure the county gets a fair return on that investment and isn't simply absorbing the costs that benefit the broader region?
I think I kind of mentioned it a minute ago. Partnerships are good, partnerships are necessary. It does not do us any good to try to operate within a vacuum here in Boone County. First off, it's not a good use of the tax dollar. The tax dollar is better, or the taxpayer gets more of a benefit when we're working collaboratively together, things like what my opponent mentioned, tank and other things. But Boone County needs to be the priority for us when we're looking at regional partnerships. And it really comes down to negotiation. I'm sure President Trump has something in his Art of the Deal book about this. Negotiation. When we're negotiating with our regional partners, Boone County is our priority. And I'm fine with us doing our part to support a better region, but I'm not going to support a regional enterprise at the expense of the Boone County taxpayer. And I don't see it as doing the right thing for the people that elected me to use our tax dollars to support another county.
Mr. Hand, thank you. Mr. Moore, same question to you. How do you make sure the county gets a fair return on its investment and isn't simply absorbing the costs that benefit the broader region?
Well, often it's criticized across the region that Boone County gets the greatest benefit from regionalism. It comes up regularly in Kenton and Campbell that they shouldn't be working so well with us because we win the economic development projects, or we win the transportation projects, or we win XYZ, you name it. We do fare very well. When we're at the table with our colleagues, we know how to fight for funding, we know how to fight for projects, and we know how to fight for our fair share. So that question is probably more interesting in Kenton or Campbell. We get our bang for our buck. The formulas that are done, the one I think that as we look to the next few years that's going to require strong leadership is going to be tank. Mass transit nationally and internationally is becoming more and more challenged. Before COVID, the park and ride facilities, there's one right across the street out here in the Kroger parking lot. Those were the meat and potatoes for tank. People would park there, they'd ride to their jobs downtown so that they didn't have to pay for parking. Downtown parking's quite expensive, and they would do the park and rides. Then COVID happens. Work from home happens. Folks don't go to the office as much. So all of a sudden the park and ride routes don't have riders. So tanks had to reevaluate how that might work. Tank for Boone County is about economic development. It's about getting workers in and out of the jobs. It's not a social service program as much. It is somewhat, but not as much as it is in Kenton and Campbell. So we gotta look at how the routes are paid for. These big buses that don't have enough riders, we can't sustain that. It's gonna have to take leadership.
Mr. Moore, thank you so much. You will get the crack of this next question, which is a natural follow-up, and it just fell this way. They just gave me these, but it kind of worked out. So on key issues like these that we've talked about, when should the county lead, and when is it appropriate for the county to follow on regional issues?
Yeah, I think we have to start by saying what's best for Boone County, and we would agree on that as well. We have to do what's best for Boone County. Now, if we can accomplish that and maybe do it even better by locking arms with our partners in Kenton and Campbell. By the way, regional partnerships is not always Boone, Kenton, Campbell. Sometimes it's the 8 counties that make up the area development district. You have the 3 northern counties and the 5 southern. The 5 southern are Grant, Gallatin, Carroll, and Owen, and Pendleton. Those make up the other 5. Sometimes regionalism works better that way. Right now we're dealing with some of the commodity issues with getting food and commodities, the cheese program, things like that for folks that are qualify. That program is becoming more and more challenging on how we can effectively distribute food products to those in need, the food banks. So regionalism sometimes is that way. Sometimes it's a 3 counties. But when we said at OKI, it's the 8 Cincinnati counties, 3 Kentucky, 4 in Ohio, Hamilton, Claremont, Butler, and Warren, and Dearborn County, Indiana. We are at the table in that regionalism dealing with the Metropolitan Planning Organization. All federal funds for transportation have to come through OKI. And you can't fund a road project or a transit route or anything with federal funds without it being in the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Plan at OKI. So some things you are tied to that you couldn't receive federal funding without being there, without being at the table, without being in leadership. Other things, though, there are options. I always start, though, again, what's best for Boone County and how are we going to prevail and do well? And we always do well.
Mr. Moore, thank you. Mr. Hand, same question to you. When it comes to regional issues, when should the county lead regional efforts, and when is it appropriate for the county to follow?
So I tend to work on a lot of very specialized projects in the private sector in my work where I work. And my approach is always first with collaboration and consensus. I would rather take a slightly slower path if we bring everybody along together at the same time. Now, that's not always possible. I used to work in the fire service, and I'm used to making very, very rapid decisions under high stress environments. But at the same time, as a region, we should be taking, and we do, a data-driven approach to the problems that we're trying to solve with our government entities, whether that's 3 counties, whether it's 30 cities, whatever the circumstances are. So if the data says that Boone County is going to have the most interest in this project, I think it's natural for us to lead in that. I think we have a lot of expertise within our staff at the county. We have an expert staff at the county. And so we are well positioned often to be leaders in various projects and initiatives simply because we have the expertise to lead. But at the same time, and you know, a good example of that would probably be our water rescue team, right? So we are a leader within the water rescue team, and we have the resources, we have the expertise, and we can house them here locally within our county. But I would say that when we follow is when the data says that it's right for us to follow. But if we're put in a position to take charge of a project, I don't think myself or the staff would be afraid to do it.
Mr. Ham, thank you. Gentlemen, we have gotten quite a few audience questions. Many of them have been topics and questions we've addressed, whether directly or indirectly. A couple, because we have time for 1 or 2. And Mr. Hand, you'll get kind of first crack at this question. And it's something that we haven't touched on yet. So, in this role, what would you do, or what have you done in your current role, I should say this for both of you, for the veterans of Boone County, and what role do they have in your, I don't want to call it an administration, but in what veterans programs are you looking at?
I don't have any specific programs that I'm looking at right now. We have a lot of support for our veteran community through our mental health, intellectual disability, and aging fund already. I am actually the son of a veteran, who's the son of a veteran, who's the son of a veteran, goes way back. So it runs deep in my family. I have a soft spot for our veterans. I do think they're put in a very difficult position today, given all the circumstances and mental health issues going on. I think one of the best things that we could do for them is to continue to boost our support for addressing both the homeless population as well as tax relief for seniors. Both of those things disproportionately impact veterans. So I would be in favor of a data-driven approach to addressing that in those manners, or any other program that might come up.
Excellent. Mr. Ham, thank you. Mr. Moore, same question to you. in your role and in your roles, what have you done or are doing for veterans, and what programs, what veterans programs would exist in another term?
Well, most recently, you probably heard a lot of coverage about the Sheriff's Department starting its veterans program within the Sheriff's Department. We support them in that effort, and it's off to a great start. Our memorials that we do at Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, in partnership with the City of Florence and City of Walton, we've helped fund projects. We participate in those memorial parades, memorial services, and such. We do have embedded programs for funding for our veterans within the Mental Health and Intellectual Disability and Aging Fund. Our building in Burlington, I don't know if you've ever noticed, when you walk into the administration building where you get your county clerk, your tags for your cars, or come to a fiscal court meeting, that is the Chalky Fleek Memorial Building. The Congressional Medal of Honor hangs in the lobby in a secure case. Chalky Fleek was from Petersburg, threw himself on a grenade in a foxhole to save his fellow service members and perished. The Petersburg Cemetery, there's several memorials there to him. I think in any way we can pay homage and give our respect and honor to those that have served our country. It is essential that we do that. All the way down to dedicated parking spots at the courthouse for Purple Heart veterans, things of that nature. I think we always have to be aware of being thankful and being aware of how we give honor to those that served us.
Mr. Moore, thank you. You will get the first crack at this next one, which takes us back to a topic we already discussed, which is housing. So what role should the judge executive, and by extension the county, play in addressing homelessness and housing insecurity?
Okay. Homelessness is a program that has grown within the county. Again, I go back to the mental health dollars, which is what funds our partnership. We have a partnership with a nonprofit called Welcome House. They are a regional entity out of Covington. When we get to declaring an emergency where people that are on the street need to become safe and get into housing, they manage the program for us. They do the intake. They make sure that those that are getting services qualify. And the thing I like about our partnership with Welcome House is that they look for wraparound services. Many times an individual that needs a roof over their head for a small time during a cold winter season, sometimes it's crazy hot season where they need to get to air conditioning because they could be in peril if they're not. But then we look at wraparound services. What is the core reason they're on the street? There are some that want to be, that choose that lifestyle. But many times it's needing job training or retraining. Maybe it's needing coaching. Maybe it's needing mental health counseling and sometimes prescription benefits. So I think that Welcome House is the ideal partner for us to work with. I'm not for hiring county employees to do these kind of things. I would rather find the core agencies that have trained counselors and professionals to partner with so they could be more efficient. I've done that throughout my career, by the way, with everything from mowing parks to mowing the roadsides. When I came to office, those were county employees that would do those jobs. Today we contract. Our number of full-time employees in the county is about the same as it was when I came to office.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Mr. Hand, same question to you. What role should the judge executive, and by extension the county, play in addressing homelessness and housing insecurity?
Obviously, the judge executive is in a leadership position and has a seat at the table when it comes to discussions around this particular issue. I do think it's primarily an urban issue. It's not necessarily something that we see extensively, although we do see it a little bit in other parts of the county. I believe that it is an issue and we must address it, but I'm not overly interested in the county using taxpayer funds to subsidize extensive programs to address. I think that We should be addressing the core issues that contribute to homelessness first to try to drive those numbers down. And I think that we should take a position of making sure that they're cared for when it comes to mental health and their safety. An example of that is when we recently considered a project for the new homeless shelter. And the proposal that came in was the Taj Mahal of homeless shelters. It had all kinds of outbuildings and extra stuff and things wedged in here and all these different programs that we were going to pay for in this building. And myself and the other commissioners were pretty adamant that, look, we're not really interested in a ginormous taxpayer subsidized program, but we are interested in making sure that we take care of their safety. So we were able to at least contribute to reducing the scope of that structure to address the core issue, make sure it's life safety, and then programs that address the underlying issues contributing to homelessness.
Mr. Hand, thank you. Gentlemen, before we tee you up for, I'm struggling with this thing. At least we made it to almost the end. Before we tee you up for your closing statements, I do have a closing question that may lead you down that path. Mr. Hand, you'll get the first crack at this one. What do you believe is the single greatest challenge facing the county over the next decade? Do you think local government is equipped to meet it?
I believe that the single biggest challenge that we are going to face as a county is related to our growth and our growth trajectory. It comes back to something that I harp on all the time. We talk about it at our Chat with Chet events. We are, and I'm going to kind of touch on this in my closing comments, we are a different county today than we were 30 years ago. It is what it is. And the challenges and opportunities of the future are going to be different. It is going to require a different approach to leadership and a different strategy on how we address them. Right now, the pain points, the friction points related to growth are the number one complaint we get from our residents. And I think as we try to make sure that we're juggling, we're balancing, taking care of our existing residents and making sure we're also taking care of our future residents, that is going to be our single biggest challenge in the future.
Mr. Hand, thank you. Mr. Moore, what do you believe is the single greatest challenge facing the county over the next decade? And is local government equipped to handle it?
Well, I do believe the greatest challenge is going to be keeping up with our infrastructure. Growth happens. It's going to happen. Whatever the outcome of this election is, growth is going to continue to happen. It's Boone County. Look at where we're located regionally and geographically with the U.S. We're within a day's drive of like almost 80% of the U.S. population. International airport, 2 Class A railroads, 3 interstates, 13 interstate exits. Growth is going to happen. Which candidate that stands before you today can best meet that demand of infrastructure improvements? The list is long of the projects that I've delivered through my career. I know how to get projects done. I know how to get a road built. I know how to get a park built. I know how to work with the school system to address their needs. Now the growth has slowed. There was a year, it was 2001, where there were 1,300 plus building permits, single family building permits issued here in Boone County. Last year, that number was less than 500. It was about 470, 480. So dramatically less. Yet congestion and growth and traffic continues because of economic development. I'm better equipped to get those projects funded, to design them, to get them to the point where we're utilizing them and benefiting from them. The new 911 centers, ground's broken. Look at the jail, look at the sheriff's office, look at the new parks management and maintenance facility. We know how to provide infrastructure and get it done. The water lines that are being installed in western Boone County, we estimate those will be finished within 3 years. One of the main reasons I'm running, I want to make sure they get done, and we want to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Gentlemen, as previously discussed, you will have 3 minutes for closing statements. And because we were going in the reverse order of the opening statements, Mr. Hand, you will begin. Are you ready, or do you need a minute? Okay, very good. Gentlemen, before we start closing statements, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for engaging.
Thanks for moderating.
Thank you for answering questions. Mr. Hand, you have 3 minutes.
So I do want to thank everybody who came out here tonight, took time out of their busy schedule to talk about the future of Boone County. My wife and I are raising our children here in this community, and that shapes how I think about every decision we make in local government. Like many families across Boone County, we chose to build our lives here because we expected a high quality of life, strong community, and future opportunities for our family. But we all know that Boone County is changing. Over the past 3 decades, we've seen tremendous growth and change, and the decisions we make today will shape what this county looks like for our children and our grandchildren in the future. As we witness the issues in our county around us, such as traffic, housing, taxes, erosion of quality of life, and the prospect of what appears to be an increasingly difficult future for our children, I think the question should be, is more of the same what we really want? Are we here to dwell on the past and hand out participation trophies to politicians milking taxpayer-funded salaries? Or do we recognize that the future is actually here, right now, and that we need a fresh vision and energetic leadership to navigate the complex challenges coming up? I'm running for Judge Executive because I believe that we can manage our growth responsibly while protecting the things that make Boone County special. We can keep taxes low, defend our property rights, support our first responders, and ensure that our county government works for the people who live here, for all residents. Boone County is an incredible place, and its best days are still ahead of us. With thoughtful leadership and a clear vision of the future, we can ensure that it remains a place where our families want to live, work, and raise their children. I didn't mention earlier, but I actually do have a number of endorsements. I'm proud to say that I am endorsed by our state senator, Steve Rawlings, and our state representative, Marion Proctor, as well as Northern Kentucky Right to Life. I've been a staunch pro-life person my whole life, and that goes into every decision that I make. I would be honored to earn your vote and the opportunity to continue service to our community as your next Boone County Judge Executive. And I'd appreciate your vote on May 19th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hand. Mr. Moore, you have the last word and last closing statement.
Well, I want to thank you, Evan. Great job moderating tonight, and to all those that organized this event. I was telling Commissioner Hand on the way in the door, in all my elections, I've never been part of a debate like this. This is the largest and the most active, and thank you for being a part of it. My wife is here as well. Linda's here. Our sons are here in the back. A lot of what I have done and what I do each and every day is to make sure that our children and our grandchildren and future generations have the same and better opportunities than what we've had. This is an amazing county. Today I was talking to a Hebron voter in my driveway, and happened to be just sat there talking, and we were chatting. He said, "I'm a lifelong Boone Countyan. I love this community. We have such a great quality of life, low taxes. I feel safe and secure here. I just feel satisfied. It's a great place. We know what you stand for. We know what you've delivered and what you're going to deliver, and there's no risk with that. We know you. We trust you." I wanted those words from him. Those aren't my words. Those are his words. I wanted those words from him tonight to be part of my close, because I think that sums up a lot of what we're here to talk about. Aren't we blessed to live in this amazing community? Isn't it wonderful? And we want to keep it that way. My slogan on my signs is keeping Boone County great. And that's what we've done, that's what we're doing, and that's what we're going to continue to do. I do have the endorsement of Sheriff Les Hill, the Kentucky Firefighters, Northern Kentucky Association of Realtors, Northern Kentucky Right to Life, only candidate endorsed by Kentucky Right to Life. There's another endorsement that I think is very important for you to consider, and that would be from the Hand family. About 9 years ago, my opponent and the other 3 generations of their family chose to move here from Alaska. They could have moved anywhere. They chose Boone County. If we were such a bad place, why would they have chosen us? You know? So when I look at my list of endorsements, I take most pride in that endorsement. We've got a great place. Welcome to Boone County. I ask for your vote and for your support on May 19th.
I do think
Gentlemen, thank you.
Yeah.
Don, do you have words before we leave? Okay, well then I will close. Thank you all again to both of you. You are in the home stretch of a campaign, and anyone who's ever done it or been around it knows how hard that is. So congratulations. Thank you for your service already to the county. Thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Evan.
Thank you also to the Boone County Public Library and their staff that is here. And thank you all. If you're watching, thank you. Thank you to everyone here in person. Make sure you go vote.